So today I'm going to be reading a number of shorter things from a bunch of different series of poetry. I think I'm going to start with this one. This one I wrote to publish in the Canadian Centre for Policy Alternatives journal called Our Schools, Ourselves, Constellations of Black Radical Imagining. This particular poem / prose / untitled / ununderstood as of yet is called Inglese. Okay? Your English is so good. Translates into how does your foreign tongue wrap itself around consonants and vowels that belong to someone else? That this tongue, which is so familiar with jim, ha, qaf, and kha, can press itself firmly against bottom of mouth to say words like whimsical, sensual, voracious, and Birmingham. That this third world mouth, born and raised in Shambat al-Hilla, fed ayn and ghayn, sad and dad, sweetened with words like Yumma, Habboba, Sudan, Galbi, can take the form of bitter taste to say words like mustard. English is a predatory language. It rips from mother and tongue, infecting the indigenous, chaining I and G onto the end of someone else's history. Colonizing with words void of meaning, yeah, cool, okay, sure. Spreading like virus, bleeding into content and sound to remind you that you are still not free, you are still fighting an imperialism trying to rip home from your mouth. In defense, we carried Kandaka warrior queens between our teeth, dripping hard G's and R's rolled with the flick of a tongue, pulling memories of how words feel and taste like healthy teeth from gums. My tongue is an acrobat playing duck duck goose with words and prose, navigating conversations that snake between worlds like small children running in Cairo's alleyways. My tongue is a passport stamped with every place I have ever lived, always announcing my otherness in the way it hides behind my teeth when I say words like strawberries and in the way some words taste like blood. Your English is so good is a reflection of the dissonance created by the way that language inhabits this body, black body. A disharmony which does not exist for me. I mold English to fit my palate. And just as our resistance came in the form of patois and pidgin and Creole, it comes in words like auntie, twisting the syllables to fit the Urdu of your mouth. And in the way you say baby good morning with Senegal on your tongue, turning English on its head, taking control of this foreign anguish. The decolonization of applying immigrant sound to white language is having one foot on each side of the atlas, the sound of a new world coming. Thank you. I was going to read one about my grandma that I was like, I'm not emotional. I'm like, after what Sheda did to me, I'm not in a place for that. Let's do, sorry, so much writing. Let's do excerpt from this poem, which, yeah, let's do this. This one is called Finding Yourself is for White Girls. And it's an excerpt. I'm not going to read the whole thing, okay? Finding yourself is for white girls who have the space to lose themselves in the first place, then go searching in someone else's homeland. They look for fragments of self in the clay of Kenya, building schools, they say, in a village where kids don't even have access to clean water. Take photos with black babies as props, or maybe as they walk in the footsteps of someone else's foremother in Machu Picchu, or Honduras, or a fucking elephant sanctuary in Thailand, or learn yoga in India and say chakra with a shh. Colored girls are held together by the knowledge that often, if not always, our homes are not accessible to us, that money and borders and money breathe our pain, even though it hurts to exhale, scale our battles, grind, survive, and if we are lucky, flourish and thrive, shattered as we may be. Finding yourself is for girls who with a straight face ask from behind thin lips if my East African mouth has ever tasted injera, who order their TT lattes with soy milk and use the definite article the before Sudan. In awe of my near-perfect English, celebrate my colonized tongue, tell me I am beautiful because my features are so European, even though my civilization birthed the world and they are wearing my face, not the other way around. Finding Yourself is for girls who wear I Heart Africa t-shirts made by babies in collapsing buildings in Bangladesh, who in the same place where slave ships dock in the Caribbean twist their ash brown hair into cornrows, weighted on by ebony and caramel and coffee and fawn, who find themselves in the desert in feather headdress and moccasins with a belly full of medicine and chemical and herb, dancing on the earth of the Omaha, Apache, and Cheyenne, who throw up peace signs that may as well be grenades, protest the oppression of Muslims topless, learn to belly dance and wear the hijab in solidarity, write think pieces and recipes for couscous and dal. The last thing I'm gonna read are small sections of a monodrama I wrote called She Who Walks on Fire. She Who Walks on Fire is, my last name Mugammar means to walk on fire or to walk on hot coals. And it's my great-grandfather and my great-grandmother were hiding a lot of revolutionaries during the first Sudanese independence war in their home. And so the British soldiers led by Lord Kitchener came and they set fire to their home, and both of them made it out, and that's how we got our last name, To Walk on Fire. So most days it's a blessing, so others it's a burden, so here we go. 1. She who shall be burdened with patience. Haboba was born Sabra, named for the virtue of patience, and she hated that name. It always felt more like a prison sentence than a well-wish, so she changed it to Na'mat, blessings. Tried to call herself into freedom, and still Yumma was cursed with waiting and longing, waiting and longing. She flicks her wrists back and forth, coffee beans bounce on cast iron slides on wood stove sparks, Hajja beats beans between mortar and pestle, Gahwa intoxicates the air. My uncles stand in a line, shoulder to shoulder, shrouded flesh above heads, wearing calm faces, for they had long since beaten their hearts into oblivion. Haboba surrenders her sorrow unto God. Beads travel between index and thumb. She meditates in the fire of remembering, grows accustomed to the thick taste of mourning, the palatable stillness, a duet of wail and prayer. She closes her eyes, rests the back of her head on a clay wall, outstretched legs, tired bones. 2. She who knows no borders, Amuna, daughter of the flood. Amuna could not hold on to things, not for fear of losing them, but for fear of forgetting the nomadic ways of her ancestors, the ability to pick up and take only that which matters. She had no trouble when it came time to decide what to leave close, what to keep close and what to leave behind. She arrived on the heel of a revolution, carried country and earth in her belly. In her mouth she held the secrets whispered between sisters. The small of her back was weighed down by the things she could not remember. Her knuckles know the motion of removing baobab seed from fruit, weaving date palms into dreams. Her hands know the clang of seashells against each other, scattered across brown earth, celestial formations that spell your fate. Her forehead knows east and prayer. Dusty feet know roads where even the maps will not take you. 3. She who shall remain nameless. She spoke to the ancestors, and yet they called her mad. She saw divine in roots, messages spelled out in drifting sand, prophecy in the peel of husk from trunk. She spent her days between bed and door, counting ants as they marched by, careful not to step on them. She read poetry and got lost in the space between words. She hears everything, and yet no one speaks her name, though in her eyes worlds collide. 4. She who dreams of rain, Hajj Aisha. Aisha could not see, neither light nor darkness crossed her mind. She holds a knife in her palms, wrapping her fingers tightly around the helm. Her strokes are guided by the memory of limbs alone. She tries to remind herself to remember herself, how she had deliberately tethered soul to flesh, adorned her skin with ink and scars, filled her lips with indigo, covered her hair with the clay of henna until it becomes red like Khartoum sky at Maghrib. She had become older now. If she were to open her eyes one morning and find her pupils communing once more with the sun, would she recognize herself? For she had learned the road maps of her body differently now. Tied soap bars to the edge of her tobe, weighed down on the left so that she may always find them. Brown skin, heavy with wisdom, ripples back and forth, back and forth. Bangles make the sound of kish, kish, kish. Water drips from her elbows. Rinse, repeat. 5. She who walks on fire, Kandaka bint Nil, daughter of the Nile. For as long as we have known fire, we were no stranger to ashes. Dust to dust, only to rise again, burn again, light again, keep warm again, build again, break again. We learned to turn our anger inside out, lest it turn us inside out. The women in my family were always the first to give matches to their daughters. Learned us how to set our worlds aflame before anyone else could do it for us. Sharpened our tongues into swords, lest we too be cursed with swallowing our words. Hurt us so no stranger ever could. Taught us how to stitch all the pieces of ourselves together again, even if we were broken 1,000 times. Traced along our veins the footsteps of Kandaka, she who walks on fire, barefoot across blazing suns. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much, Erin.